So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to have this next guest back on our show. He is a member of that amazing Fortis MMA team out of Dallas, Texas. He is a super exciting UFC featherweight contender with an amazing fight coming up in just a couple of weeks against Mr. Chase Hooper. We're talking about the man they call Ocho, Steven Ocho Peterson. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's my pleasure to be on here.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you. I know we had a great interview with you about a year and a half ago, and then COVID got in the way, and we're so glad to have you back. How did you make it during those COVID times? Now, did you have one fight during the last year and a half? I think you did, right?
No, I did not. I actually had surgery right before the whole COVID lockdown. I had a ligament reconstruction. It had been an ongoing injury throughout my career, something that I had fought through and just put off. It had finally gotten to the point where it was so bad I couldn't continue to fight through it. I couldn't extend my arms, so had to get it surgically repaired, and that led me into the whole COVID thing. And you know, that time was rough. It was depressing, really. I'm sure it was tough for everybody, but I thrive off of my my relationship with people. You know, we're not meant to be alone.
Agreed.
We're not meant to be on this earth. Like, there's not much purpose if you're the only person on earth. So,
I agree.
You know, I get fulfillment from my connection and helping people out and with my students and whatnot. So it was a really tough time for me, but I continue to teach my students on Zoom. You know, I did a whole Zoom class, which was different, but it was something. And, you know, we made it through, and, you know, I'm just happy we're on this side of things, and, you know, we're getting a little bit of our freedoms back. Absolutely.
I agree 100% about that. And I think you train in Texas, so you're living in Texas as well, right?
Yes, that's correct. And in Texas, we're one of the freest countries in the world.
Exactly. I admire it. In Texas and in Florida, they're doing the right things, in my opinion. And I'm over here in California where they're not, man. So I envy you over there. At least you got, you know, some semblance of reasonable leadership. But anyway, I don't want to be too political here. But your last fight was a good one, wasn't it? Remind me the result and who the opponent was, that fight before COVID and before your surgery.
Yeah, I fought Martin Bravo in Mexico City, and we had a little scrap, and I hit him with that reverse spinning back fist and then knocked him out cold.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a big show out for me, and yeah, I left it on a high note, and I'm ready to come back and you know, get started where I left off.
Without a doubt, and that was awesome. And now they're putting you against a guy who was kind of their one-time golden boy. I think the dude's literally like 21 years old now or something like that. He's really young, but you're not that old yourself. But he's like this super young guy who was killing it against kind of inferior competition, and then they threw him up against the veteran Bruce Leroy. And he Alex Caceres, and he didn't fare that well, although he did gut it out. Talk about a guy taking a beating and gutting it out. I mean, that was, you know, pretty good to see, although I know it doesn't impress someone that's going to be fighting him to say he takes a beating well, but then again, that would be a good opponent for you. What do you expect from Chase Hooper? I think his last fight was a win. Dr. Adam Rorta, can you cue that for me? Chase's last fight, because I know that he did have one, right?
Yeah, you're correct about that. He's coming off of a win. He was getting pieced up on the feet, and he rolled for an Imanari roll and caught the dude in a heel hook. And, you know, it was one of those things where the kid's tough. He's tough as nails. He can take a beating, and he's always looking for a finish. Reminds me a lot of myself when I was that age. I was 21. I wasn't very well-rounded, but I had some tools in my pocket, and it was like I could catch a submission or something. But yeah, it was just one of those fights where the kid was obviously outclassed, but he was able to pull it out. So you know, more power to him. But I'm not the type of guy to let a fight slip for me like that. If I'm outclassing him, and you know I need to just go the distance, and he's not. If I'm not able to put him away, then I'll be patient and mind my P's and Q's and avoid something like that.
Absolutely. And you are, I think, right in your prime as as a featherweight fighter at 31, and at 21 he's definitely not really near his prime. And most guys just, it seems like the UFC is a tough sport that unless your name is John Jones, you're not really beating too many people fight after fight when you're in your early mid-20s. It just seems like guys don't have the maturity, the physical strength. You know, they don't, a lot of guys at 21, as we know, don't even have their full man strength yet, you know, and so they can just get big brothered a lot. But this guy's a tough, gritty dude too. You know, he's tall, you're tall for a featherweight. How do you expect this? First of all, what do you think made this fight, made this matchup? Because it would seem to me like you're a very dangerous opponent for Chase Hooper. You are the betting favorite by a little bit. Why do you think they made this fight, and what do you think their thought is? It's almost looks like they're trying to almost tag another loss on this kid and maybe send him packing or something. I don't know. What's your thought about the matchup, and then what do you think about how the fight plays out?
I mean, that's quite flattering that you think that, and you know, obviously, I feel like I'm going to run through the kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think for them, they're wanting to test him, see if he's going to sink or swim, give him a killer, because you know, obviously he hasn't fought any killers. Alex Caceres went in there and you know, outclassed the guy. He was all over him. I feel like there was at least one or two opportunities where he could have finished him if he would have pounced on him, but he was kind of scared to go to the ground with him. I'm not scared to go to the ground with this kid. I'll jump on him. I'll take him out. So I think as far as the UFC, they're, you know, throwing him to the wolves. If he's able to beat me, then he belongs. But you know, I'm one of those killers, and it's also a test for me to see if I can be consistent and go in there and get another win. Like you said, I'm coming into my prime. I need to be consistent with my win streaks. I need to put together a good string of you know, 4 or 5 wins, and then I'll be in the top 15, and that's my next goal, is to get to the top 15 and top 5, and then fight for the belt. So I think this is a good step for me to get on a nice win streak. Hopefully I'll finish this kid, make a statement. And another reason, this kid's got a hell of a following. He's making more money than me.
Right.
I've been fighting for 13 years in this sport.
Yep.
I've been busting my ass. I've been a local champion, a world champion before I got to the UFC. Mm-hmm. Now I'm in the UFC. I'm making next to bottom dollar of these UFC fighters.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not on my first contract. I'm on my second contract, so I'm making more than the, you know, original show money. But I looked at what this kid's making, and he's making a considerable more amount than me. Yep. And he's only been fighting for 3 years. So I take that as you know, a chip on my shoulder. I got to go in there and prove to these guys that I'm worth more than the bottom dollar. I'm a star, and I need to go out there and show that.
I like that statement, and you put it very well. It reminds me of when Nate Diaz originally called out Conor McGregor. Remember that? He said, MFer, you're taking everything that's mine, you know, and then
exactly.
He did get a piece
exactly
of it.
How I feel.
Yeah.
And when I go out there and submit this kid, I'm going to submit him. And I'm going to say, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers, because I've been doing this for all my life.
I love it. I love it. I agree. And I'm an older guy. I'm definitely substantially older than you, I'll tell you that. And I cheer always for the guys that are in their 30s over the guys in their 20s, because you've paid your dues. You know, you've put in the time, the blood, sweat, and the tears. And especially, you know, like a lot of guys in your position that are grinding and just for some reason didn't, you know, catch the UFC's fancy or something like this kid Hooper because he was only 20 or whatever. You know, nothing against Chase.
It's the social media following has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
It's the fans. The fans go after the stupid personalities, the people that are loud. They talk about nothing. Like Nate the Train going out there saying a bunch of ignorant shit.
Right.
We need to stop making stupid people famous and find somebody that can put together a complete sentence and you know, put him on the board.
I would agree. I agree 100%. As an older guy, a lot of times I see some of these social media influencers, and I'm thinking back, man, when I was in my 20s, people would have laughed at this guy and said this guy's a complete idiot. And now you have like millions of millennials saying, "Oh, look how cool this dude is." And I just
exactly.
No, I'm not. You know, it is what it is. But so let me ask you this: I know you definitely like to submit him, and you could do that. It seems to me like out of his standing game and his ground game is better. A lot of fans, I think, kind of wonder what the strategy is when it comes to that, because I remember an old UFC from years ago where Mark Kerr was talking. If you might remember him, he's going to be played by The Rock, and he had that documentary Smashing Machine. He was a
That's right, I remember him.
yeah, and I remember him saying he was a wrestler, and a lot of people would say, why don't you give someone a chance and not take him down, let him mix him up? And he said, I'm not here to show how tough I am, how much punishment I can take. I'm here to get the W. But I also think that that was when fighters kind of were really good at one skill set. He wasn't really going to be able to stand with anyone anyway, but when you see a guy and Chase Hooper's ground game is better, how do you and your camp look at it? Because I think a lot of fans would think the obvious thought would be you and Coach Safe would say this kid's ground game is better. Let's keep it on the feet the whole time and just piece this guy up. But you're saying you really would be excited to just take him down and submit him. How does that work? Does your coach look at you and say, your ground game's good, just take it wherever you want, let's go wherever we want with this kid? Or is there something to trying to take someone out of their comfort zone and go away from their strength?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like I'm better in all facets of the fight. I feel like I very well could submit him, but I'm not going to take him to the ground necessarily. I'm going to let him kind of fall over, and obviously, if he's strong on the ground, why would I want to go to the ground with him if he's weak on the feet? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go piece him up on the feet. But when that opportunity presents itself and he's all wobbled and going for my leg, I'm not going to be afraid to sprawl on him and get top position and smash him from there. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be running from him on the ground. So by any means, it's not something that I'm going to avoid, mm-hmm. but it's something that I'm going to dictate when it goes to the ground. I'm not going to go to ground on his terms. I'm going to go to ground on my terms. I'm going to fight this whole fight on my terms.
Very cool. So I got another question for you. We just want to fix one technical thing here. Let me pass this and information about our next guest there. If he's calling now, then he's early. Maybe you could let him know he's way early. Okay. Anyway, so Chase Hooper, he's got to realize his back in a way is a little against the wall, although he's really young. Maybe he's not realizing that. Obviously he's going to fight hard, but here's where I was going with that. When you look at a guy who's like 6'1", at featherweight, do you need to get a guy that height? I mean, obviously it's ideal to get a guy that height to come in and train with you. But it's got to be not that easy to find a 6'1" featherweight who's got some skills, but B, maybe you don't really need that, or is something like that kind of kept a secret?
Man, at Fortis, we got plenty of guys, all weight classes, all heights, sizes. I got plenty of different looks over here. And as far as, wanting him to trade with me, he's going to have to come forward. This kid wants to take me down. Mm-hmm. So he's going to have to let me get inside. He's not going to outstrike me, and if he does, then he's going to, for a world of hurt. I see him trying to get a hold of me and grab me by any means necessary. So in order to do that, he's got to come forward and he's got to fight. So I'm looking forward to scrapping.
Nice. Any chance we'll see another spinning back fist?
There's no doubt about that. You'll see that and then some. I got all kinds of tricks that I haven't shown you guys yet. I've been fighting for a long time, but I've only been in the UFC for 5 fights, and I got a hell of a lot more in me. I'm here to stay, so you're going to see a lot more from me.
Absolutely. Well, you've been doing really well, and you have a great team there. You got Uriah Hall is over there. You got Jeff Neal. You got Alex Morono. You've got the big guys, Kennedy, Nchukwu. You got Alonzo. You got who else? You got there? Diego Ferreira.
Yeah, Diego. We got Damon Jackson. We got Fernie Garcia, Stevie Wynn, Miles Johns, Elijah Johns. Man, we just got so many killers. I'm sure I left out half of them. We got 18 guys in the UFC and at least 4 on the way. So, man, just a bunch of killers, bunch of great looks, and I'm the only one fighting that weekend, so we're really everybody's gotten behind me, and I feel the push, and I'm more motivated than ever.
Nice. Who's been helping you most for this camp?
Man, I've been working on Uriah Hall on my overall athleticism. Coach Mike Scatia, he's our strength and conditioning coach. Really just working on footwork, athleticism, and being a better athlete. All in all, we're working with Stevie Wynn as well. We're working with a couple of the jiu-jitsu guys, Dylan Martinez, he's a jiu-jitsu super fight competitor. So got a lot of guys in my corner, and no shortage of really good looks.
Nice. So let me ask you, how did you get the nickname Ocho? We know Ocho Cinco, at least old football player fans do, and funny enough, he's an MMA media guy now, Chad Ocho Cinco.
Hopefully I'll see Ocho Cinco over at 263, and he could ask me the same question. But I was in 2015, I believe. I moved to McKinney, Texas from Los Angeles, and I was the new kid. I really didn't fit in. I was on the football team, and I wore number 8. And I was on the junior varsity team, so I was going against the varsity team on the scout team, and they put me on the D line. So the old linemen ran, they pancaked me, started slamming my face mask into the dirt, and it was humiliating. So I got up, ripped my helmet off, ripped my pads off, and started throwing punches.
Nice.
And the next play, they started pointing at me, Ocho, Ocho, Ocho.
I love it.
And they ran at me, did the same thing. So I kept swinging. And they're like, oh, shit, this kid Ocho thinks he can fight, huh?
Uh-oh.
This kid Ocho thinks he can fight. So after that, throughout the school year, everybody knew me as Ocho, the new kid from L.A. that thought he could fight. And anytime somebody wanted to test their skills, they'd call me out. And we'd go in the locker room or onto the field, and we'd throw hands.
I love it. I remember whenever I hear a line, man, sometimes I'm sure you hear the same thing. If you ever hear like a quote from a movie or anything like that, I'm sure you probably remember it. I remember years ago in one of the early UFC fighters would say about testing their skills. I think I remember it was Keith Hackney in UFC 3. He was a guy, because back in those days the guys weren't even full-time fighters. He owned like a air conditioning and heating company in Rockford, Illinois. And his opponent was 6'8" and 616 pounds. And
wow.
Keith it was a David and Goliath matchup, and he said, "I'm here to test my skills." And back then, some people didn't know it was the Ultimate Fighting Championship. They called it like Ultimate Fighting Challenge. But I remember he won. He tested his skills, even though it looked bad for him. Could you imagine seeing a guy in the octagon 6'8" and 616 pounds?
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. That would be. It sounds like some of the beginning fights I had. I fought this country dude. I'm not going to say what we called him. It wasn't politically correct, but he was a huge guy, and he was about 300-400 pounds.
Oh wow!
He was just country redneck, and he ended up getting on top of me and fish hooking me and pulling my face and started ripping my cheek. And they ended up stopping it and restarting it and be like, hey, there's at least a little bit of rules. So. By the end, I ended up hopping on his back and choking him out. But it was like I was fighting for my life. Like we were in the middle of a field, and if you lose that fight, then shit, ain't nobody gonna save you.
No, exactly. That's really like what it was. I mean, could you imagine that much weight? And like I remember one of the commentators. Remember the early days of the UFC? Not all the commentators knew what they were looking at, because hell, no one really knew what they were looking at, right? And I remember they had one guy with a haircut with bangs. And he said in that fight, Keith Hackney 195 pounds, the other guy 616 pounds, and he said, you know what he's got to do? He's got to get him with low leg kicks. Low leg kicks. He repeated it, right? And then the other guy said, I don't think he could hurt her with a kick. There's too much weight. How are you going to hurt a guy at 600 pounds with leg kicks? But he eventually caught him. But crazy times, man. So when you were in Los Angeles, I guess before you moved to Texas, you probably were not even aware of MMA and the UFC, or were you? Sounds like you were a teenager then when you left LA.
No, when I was young, I used to watch, I don't know if it was UFC or what it was, but it was on the infomercials on the late night, and they had the blood on the face was blurred out, and they were like in small cages, like square small cages. It was more of a blood sport type thing. And, I would talk to my friends like, what if? We watched the WWF back when it was real, right?
Right. Yep. Back in those days. I remember in Los Angeles years ago, and this is what you might have seen, when it was banned for a while in the late 90s, it was banned on pay-per-view. And you could only see it on satellite TV, but they were showing it on a Spanish language channel, and the broadcast was called Combate Mortal.
Yeah, I believe that's it. I believe it is.
That was awesome. They would show fights not only from, I don't think they would show UFC fights, but
no, it was more like no holds barred.
Right, they would show stuff from Russia. They would show International Valley Tudo from Brazil. And yeah, I remember the crazy fights. I remember Igor Vovchanchin, the Russian, in those fights. I remember one was like a 16-man elimination tournament in Russia. And they kept saying fight after fight. There was like 1 minute in between fights, and there was no gloves. Crazy stuff in the old days, man. I mean, in a way, it's kind of too bad that that sport didn't continue. Or do you disagree? Like, some people feel there's really no place for a sport where the guys don't necessarily have skills and no weight classes and headbutting was allowed. I mean, it was very dangerous. But do you think that somehow it would be fun to see that sport, or it could exist in any way? Or do you think it really is better off that that's just kind of part of
history? It's called Lethway.
Yeah,
just allowed in the United States. So
yes.
I'm all for that shit. It's fucking awesome, but there's not as much money in it because we're entertainers, and some people don't like it that brutal. They like their little icing on it, little safety pads, and no headbutts, no groin shots, no I don't like the groin shots and the eye pokes, but I'm all for the headbutts if it's a across the board rule. If it works both ways, and knees to the head of a grounded opponent, same way. If it's both ways and it's agreed on, I'm all for it. But that's when you start to cross that line between entertainment and life and death.
Yeah, without a doubt, there was some crazy stuff. Do you know that if you look at UFC number 2, that was the first fight that Big John McCarthy was a referee for, right? And he kept on yelling at the corners, "Watch your corner." And most people still don't know why. And the reason is, in that second UFC fight, Rorion Gracie had selected him to be the referee, because in the first fight, a Brazilian referee stopped things when Rorion Gracie said, "Don't stop it unless someone's either unconscious or they throw in the towel," right? And so what apparently Rorion Gracie told John McCarthy was, "You can't stop this fight no matter what happens. Either someone's corner has to throw in the towel, or the guy has to be unconscious, or the fight continues." And McCarthy kept on. I mean, he saw guys take some bad beatings in that card, and he couldn't. And then after that fight, he said that he went to Rorion Gracie and said, "No, I'm never doing that again. I'll either never be a referee again, or you have to allow me to stop a fight." And then right after that, they really did start agreeing that fighter safety was most important, because that was really a crazy situation. But yeah, the headbutts. I tell you what, I remember in UFC 7, and I was young, but I was watching that. I think that was something like 1996 or something. And it was, the commentators were Bruce Beck, Jim Brown, the ex-football great, and Don the Dragon Wilson, the kickboxing champion, who was also a star of karate movies, right? And they were in Buffalo, in a place called the Odd in Buffalo, which I think no longer exists. And the lights went out during the UFC, so they had to. So they made sure that the next fight didn't start, and they went to an earlier alternate match. I remember, and the alternate match had a guy representing praying mantis kung fu with a kung fu praying mantis T-shirt on, against a freestyle wrestler wearing his wrestling singlet. And they took this off the DVD. You can't even find this on YouTube, because it was a crazy match. But the wrestler charged at the kung fu guy, and the kung fu guy extended his arm with his palm to measure him, and then slammed a headbutt right into the guy's forehead on his feet.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
wow.
And it surprised the wrestler, and he came back at him again. The guy headbutted him again, and the wrestler tried to throw him with a lateral throw, and he ended up on top of the wrestler, and he headbutted him again, and then eventually the wrestler reversed him, swept him, or elevated him, whatever you call it, and he was starting to pound him, but blood was squirting out of his head, like squirting out of his head all over the other guy. And the other guy was putting his hand up to stop blood from going in his eyes, and the referee stopped the fight. Later they said the wrestler had to take 100 stitches in his head because it hit an artery or something. But the headbutts were dangerous. That was insane. I still remember that. And that match, if you could ever find it, is Geza Kelman Jr. versus Joel Sutton. And they asked the Kung Fu guy after, they say, was that just kind of a random thing that you went for with that, or was that planned? And he said, no, it was planned. He said, I knew the guy was a better wrestler. I knew the guy was heavier, I think. And he said, I just had to measure him for that headbutt.
Yeah, wrestlers lead with their heads. If you're allowed to headbutt them, it would make it for a whole different game. But wrestlers are a hell of headbutters too. So
that's true.
Yeah, that would make really interesting fights with wrestlers for sure.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So I tell you what, we've only got about 5 minutes left with you, but I'd love to get your opinion on some upcoming fights, if that's okay, and then we'll make sure to shout yours out before we leave. So I know that that you do like to watch other fights. Do you like to watch fights only in your division in the UFC, or are you also a fan of other divisions?
Oh man, I watch them all. I watch them all for sure.
Okay, so this weekend we've got the big boys, Augusto Sakai against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and they've got Biggie Boy from Suriname as a slight favorite. How do you think that one folds in a prediction, if you have one?
Yeah, I'm a real fan of Rozenstruik, man. He's a beast. He's very unorthodox. He's able to just knock guys out of nowhere with the jab or whatnot. I think I think he's got to have learned from that loss to Nagano, and I think he's going to come out, be a little bit cleaner, a little more technical, and I'd like to see him pull it off and get back on the win column.
Absolutely exciting fighter. How about the co-main, Walt Harris, the big ticket against Marcin Tybura from Poland?
Yeah, I want to see Walt Harris do well. I know he went through a lot last year, the year before.
Yep.
And I'm really pulling for him. I hope he can use it as motivation and come on top. I'm a big fan of him, and I wish him all the best.
Absolutely. And how about the other heavyweight on that card, Ilir Latifi against Tanner Boser? Any opinion on that one?
Latifi's a hell of a wrestler. I think he'll be able to basically put together a hell of a game plan, be in and out, get to score the takedowns, and score the victory.
Absolutely. Let me ask you about a fight just signed. Max Holloway has just signed to face Yair Rodriguez, El Pantero. What do you think?
I love that matchup. I love the matchup. I'm a big fan of Holloway, not so much Yair. I like his fighting style, but I'm not such a fan of the character or the person. Mm-hmm. I hope Max Holloway goes out there, puts the hands on him, makes a clean victory, and gets the finish. I thought Max Holloway won both fights with Volkanovski, and I think he deserves the rematch again. I think he needs to go out there, get a definitive win, and then get back in there and get his belt back.
Absolutely. Speaking of Volkanovski, the starting tonight, might even be on right now, I'm not sure. Volkanovski is back with the Ultimate Fighter, and the coach in the other corner, Brian Ortega. After the season is over, both head coaches will fight each other. You got Volkanovski now training jiu-jitsu with probably Australia's most famous jiu-jitsu guy ever, Craig Jones. And he's getting his ground game tight. What do you think, though, Volkanovski and Brian or T-City Ortega?
I think Volkanovski is just a better fighter and better person all around. I'm a better fan of him than Ortega. Ortega's kind of fake, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. Not to say too much, but I think Volkanovski is just too good in and out. His movement is way too good. He's gonna be too quick for him. Beat him to the punch, and I think he's gonna score a decision win. Yeah,
you very well could be right. It looks like also one other featherweight is out of the picture for a while, and that is Beat Megamed Sharapov. And we only got a couple minutes left, but man, you hate to see a young guy who's in amazing shape getting sick like this. Do you think that there's anything involving the fact that you guys train so hard and you have to maintain such a low body fat and you're cutting weight and other things? Is any of that leading to some of these guys getting sick, or do you just think it's a random thing that just some individuals get even when they're 28 or 30 years old?
I think it's random. I mean, it very well could be. We live an extreme lifestyle, but what I notice is when I'm training full time, I'm healthier. You know, I'm eating better. I feel better.
Right.
You know, yeah, it is extreme, but you know, I feel healthier in general when I'm training for a fight. I think it's just, you know, one of those things where, you know, you fall ill and then everybody in the world knows about it. So I wish him the best. I hope him a speedy victory or a speedy recovery, and you know, I'd like to see him in the octagon one of these days.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to have you in there with him because you're both amazing fighters. Well, I'll let you shout out again the date and the location and your opponent in your next fight. Fire away.
June 12th, UFC 263. Peterson versus Hooper is going down. You're going to see this kid knocked out in the first round. I'm ready to show you guys some violence. I want to give a shout out to my team, Fortis MMA, all my training partners. Thanks for helping me out. All my sponsors, Solid Saunas for beautiful sauna, help me cut weight, help me stay healthy. New lifespan with their product Myelin 6. You can get it at OchoMMA.com. Scroll to the bottom, put your email in, send your address. We'll send you 3 free so you can try it out yourself. Dank vodka. It's vodka made with terpenes, no artificial sweeteners or sugar. Delicious and not so bad for you. Chandler cabinets, custom cabinets at home. Limitless Sport Picks. Check them out at Limitless Sport Picks on Instagram if you're into betting and all that. Hutchins Barbecue for the best barbecue in Texas. Thanks for the time. Appreciate you guys listening. I'm out.
You got it. My pleasure. Thanks so much, Steven Peterson. Have a great night.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.